Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Built Heritage Subcommittee meeting of October 12th, 2021. I'd like to call the members to order. Before we begin our virtual meeting, I'd like to acknowledge that Ottawa is located on unceded Algonquin territory. This meeting is being held remotely through Zoom. Those who do not need to participate in the meeting can also watch it live on the Ottawa City Council YouTube channel. A reminder to participants to please keep your microphones muted until I call upon you to speak. I will provide each committee member with the opportunity to ask questions or comment on each item in the order in which they raise their hand in Zoom. For panelists, the raise hand option is found at the bottom of the participants list. For those calling in, press *9 to raise your hand. The committee coordinator and I will be watching for those cues. Members are also reminded to submit any motions, visual supports, or declaration of interest in writing to the coordinator at their earliest convenience. Although the deadlines have passed for residents to register to speak and provide written submissions to this subcommittee, residents may still make submissions to the Finance and Economic Development Committee and Council. If you have technical difficulties signing into the meeting, you can contact the committee coordinator by calling 613-580-2424, extension 22953. A reminder that if participants are having technical issues with their Zoom connection, they may call in using the backup telephone number provided by the coordinator. I have received regrets from Councillor Gower. Could the committee coordinator please call the roll? A reminder to members to unmute themselves when they're called.
Member Halsell?
Here.
Member Podolsky?
Here.
Councillor Gower? Councillor McKenney?
Here.
Member Conforti?
Here.
Councillor Brockington?
Here.
Councillor Moffat?
Here.
Vice Chair Quinn?
Here.
Chair King?
And I am present.
You have quorum, Chair.
Thank you, Eric. Are there any declarations of interest? And Member Hassel, please go ahead.
My declaration concerns the previous meeting of the Built Heritage Subcommittee and the Planning Committee, in which I had a conflict of interest for the master site plan control for the Ottawa Hospital. This was a potential deemed indirect pecuniary interest on items 1 and 2 because the NCC, my employer, is also an approval body on the development. So that's just to reiterate it today per the Integrity Commissioner's established recommendation for this.
And thank you for that declaration of interest. We can now move forward with the confirmation of minutes. Are the minutes of Tuesday, August 31st, 2021 confirmed?
Carried.
Confirmed.
Confirmed.
Thank you. Are the minutes of the special joint meeting of Friday, October 1st, 2021 confirmed?
Confirmed. Confirmed.
Thank you. Confirmed. So our major item this morning deals with planning, infrastructure, and economic development and long-range planning. And the file before us is the Heritage Community Improvement Plan application for 278-280 O'Connor Street, a property designated under Part 5 of the Ontario Heritage Act and located within the Centretown Heritage Conservation District. Can staff please provide an overview of this report?
Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. I'll just wait for the report to show up on the screen. All right, this report is the second application we've had for the Heritage Community Improvement Plan, and we're bringing it forward today to the committee for information. I'm joined this morning by my colleague, Chris Cope, an Economic Development Officer. The two of us work together on administering the Heritage Community Improvement Plan. Next slide, please. As a summary of the program, the Heritage Community Improvement Plan was adopted by Council in January of 2020. The goal of the program is to encourage property owners of heritage buildings to restore their buildings. The program uses a tax increment-based grants paid through the anticipated increase in the municipal portion of the property taxes attributable to the redevelopment. Owners may receive grants equal up to 75% of the increase in taxes paid over a 10-year period to a maximum of $500,000. The final amount is based on the actual revised assessment and then current taxation rates following the completion of the project and the assessment of the municipal by impact. Next slide, please. This application is for 278 to 280 O'Connor Street, properties designated under Part 5 of the Ontario Heritage Act as part of the Centertown Harris Conservation District. The project consists of the redevelopment of this site along with 347 Gilmore Street, which will be demolished. The two houses shown here are 278 and 280 O'Connor. They will be retained and integrated into a new multi-unit residential building. Next slide. The lower right image shows in green the amount of the original structure along O'Connor, structures along O'Connor that are to be retained. A new mid-rise building will be constructed in behind these two properties. The proposal has been designed sensitively to the scale of the neighborhood and uses compatible materials and detailing. A heritage permit was issued for this project in September of 2020. Next slide. The approach used for 278 to 280 O'Connor will be one of rehabilitation. While the project involves the removal of the rear portions of each house, the main portions of the building will be rehabilitated and restored. Only elements beyond repair will be replaced in kind. The porches will be preserved and repaired and any missing components reinstated. All woodwork and masonry will be conserved and restored as required. As part of the Heritage Community Improvement Plan, a conservation plan was required. The plan outlines the various restoration aspects of the project, including the foundation and brickwork that will be repaired and maintained. Cracks and fracture repairs, as well as detriment repairs, will be required, either to repair existing stones or bricks, or to repair damages that may occur during construction. Replacement of any masonry should be done in kind, sourcing the correct type of brick or stone. All repointing should be completed in a compatible manner using a lime-based mortar. Additionally, the wooden elements, including the porches, woodwork, and doors, will be repaired or replicated as required. As part of this application, the applicant has agreed to work with heritage staff to improve the heritage elements of their project. This may include superior materials or design to achieve the highest standard of conservation. Next slide. I'm going to pass it over to my colleague, Chris, to take over for the financial aspects.
Good morning, Chair, and thank you, Ashley. This program is funded out of the increases in property taxes for the site. On this slide, we'll show you a little bit about how it works on this specific project. The property redevelopment itself qualifies as an eligible project under the Heritage CIP Act. It's first of all located in the appropriate area, in the Heritage CIP area, just as described in the bylaw. And then secondly, it has satisfied all of the elements of the bylaw to make it qualify. Now, the combined municipal taxes on the total of these three properties is currently $40,574. If undeveloped and nothing happened, that would jump to approximately $43,000 in 2023. But as you can see on this site, in 2023, suddenly the red bars, which represent the post-development estimated taxes, suddenly they jump to about $234,000 a year, which would be a substantial increase, nearly $200,000 per year. And of course, as the taxation rate goes up over time, that spread becomes a little larger. The blue bars would represent what would happen if we didn't do anything. Yes, there's a slight increase. And getting just over $50,000 at the end of 10 years. But in this case, it's getting over $300,000 at the end of 10 years. Looking at the chart, those purple bars you see, and there are only 5 of them, represent the grant, which is based on 75% of the increase only for the municipal portion of the property tax bills. In this case, the project will reach the $500,000 maximum in the 5th year of the project. And so in that particular year, and the chart in the staff report shows you that it totals out in those 5 years to $500,000, even though the program itself provides for grants that could extend out to 10 years. A key aspect, of course, is that the actual grants are paid on the basis of true impact assessment, city receiving the information from MPAC, and issuing a new tax bill in the new amount for these three properties combined. Likely it would be a single tax bill but it could be the total of three. Either way, we would look at that total and compare it to the preceding total unimproved, and then the grant would be based on the municipal portion at 75%. So the precise timing of that last payment is likely to be in the fifth year. But for example, if the assessment by impact was lower, then the increase would be lower and it might extend into the sixth or seventh year. So it really is a term I like to use for this, is that these grants are self-financing, as you can see from this chart. The increase in taxes is substantial. And of course, it satisfies our intensification goals as well. And again, these are order of magnitude. We think they're pretty good estimates. They're based on a qualified consultant who submitted his report along with the application. And I hope this gives some understanding of how it's going to flow out. Now, Chair, this concludes our presentation this morning.
Thank you, Ashley, and thank you, Chris, for the in-depth presentation on this file. At this time, we've only received correspondence from David Fleming of Heritage Ottawa in a letter dated October 9th, which provides the support of that organization. We do have two registered speakers for this item this morning. The first registered speaker is Tony Kazarian of AKG Management, Inc.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of committee. My name is Kayla Blakely. I'm a planner with Novatech, and we've been working with our client for several years on this project. And I've registered this morning to speak on his behalf, as was suggested by staff. Should you have any questions or if you wish to have a bit more of an overview of this project.
Well, thank you for being here, and I'll ask members if there are any questions for the applicant through Kayla on behalf of Tony or for Tony. Seeing no questions, thank you for being here. Does the committee have any questions for staff on this item? And I see that member Hassel has raised her hand.
Chair, just on a point of order, don't we have a second delegation?
I don't see the second delegation on my list. Kayla from Novatech had said that she was speaking on behalf of Tony. Okay. So I just assumed if Tony, and if there were no questions, that we could move on to questions for staff.
Fair enough. I just thought there was a second independent delegation, but all good. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question for staff. Based on the presentation, you'd mentioned that you're currently in discussions with the developer for improving various heritage materials to the highest standard, and I assume these are the materials that are outlined within the conservation plan. But could you give a few examples for the committee?
Certainly, that's a great question. We're in talks with the applicant now, and some suggestions that we have are related to roofing material. Right now, the two houses, one has a metal roof, the other one has an asphalt shingle. Historically, they both had a slate roof. So our recommendation may be to reinstate slate or a faux slate product to still get that similar appearance. Windows are another element that have not been decided as far as materials go. So we can push the applicant, to hopefully ask the applicant to provide a better material rather than, since that hasn't been decided. So those are some of the two elements that we're hoping to improve on the current proposal.
Thank you. And are those material upgrades, when they factor in the 1.3 million that they've set aside for heritage related components, those improvements be above and beyond the 1.3? Are they estimated within that?
I would expect them to be slightly above and beyond. The applicant was looking to, I believe, reinstate an asphalt shingle, and I do expect that. Well, slate definitely would be more expensive, but a composite will slightly be a little bit higher still.
Well, I think for what it's worth, a slate roof would look wonderful on there. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor McKinney.
Thanks, Chair. I just have comments. If nobody else has questions, I just wanted to, because it's in Somerset Ward, obviously, and it is an example of our Heritage Community Improvement Plan that, as it was designed to, to accomplish, to preserve these heritage homes to the greatest extent possible, and not to tear down and start over. It's not facadism. It's actually a decent retention of these heritage homes, while allowing densification in the downtown where it should be, just in behind, around the corner on Gilmore. So just kudos to staff. Thank you. And to the applicant for what is really sensitive inclusion of these two heritage buildings on O'Connor, which is not the prettiest street in the city. Actually, I always say it's probably the least attractive street, at least downtown. Everything backs onto O'Connor, except in this area where we do have some wonderful older heritage homes. So nice to see that happening in this part of the city, and I look forward to more from this program in the future. Thanks.
Thank you for those comments as ward councillor. I see that member Podolsky has raised his hand.
Thank you, Chair. Not a question for staff. I think that the reports, both the Heritage and the Economic Development Report, are very clear. I would just like to say that the Heritage Community Improvement Plan has been advocated in various forms for the last, for a number of decades, and it's gratifying to see that a practical application is now in front of us for approval, which I support. And just a suggestion to staff, if it hasn't really been planned already, and that is that the documentation of each of the projects that obtains a community improvement plan should be carried out, and as an example of the measure of the success of this program. And I'm sure that you're going to be doing that. And I think that we have our grant program, which is not very big, but this one is more significant. I think coupled together, they begin to realize what heritage conservation and a municipal role in it has been advocated for many, many years. And it's nice to see this complementing the regulatory side. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Member Podolsky. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll provide a few of my own, a few of my observations, and in agreement actually with the observations of Heritage Ottawa, who noted that the renovation of this property is an ideal candidate for funding under the Heritage Community Improvement Plan. The rehabilitation and preservation of the two buildings provide a base for a new development, which enhance the community and ultimately provide additional tax revenue for the city. I'd also like to closely associate my comments with that of Ward Councillor, Councillor McKinney. And I'm pleased that City Heritage staff was not supportive of the full or substantive removal of all of an existing building on a specific site, given their designations as part of the Centertown Heritage Conservation District. Ultimately, the consequence of granting this Heritage CIP approval is that the complete restoration work of the heritage buildings will proceed, as well as new construction above grade, making site redevelopment a reality. And as a consequence, I'm supportive of this report and will also be voting in favor. Is the report received?
Received.
Yes.
Received.
Thank you. So the report is received, and this report will be submitted to Finance and Economic Development Committee on November 2nd, 2021. Our second item comes from the Office of the City Clerk, and it is a status update around Built Heritage Subcommittee inquiries and motions for the period ending September 27th, 2021. There is no presentation, and this is pretty much a pro forma update that comes before us. Does the committee have any questions for staff? Seeing none, do any of the members have any comments on this item? And I don't see any raised hands. So is the report received?
Received.
Received. Thank you. In terms of in-camera items, there are none to date. And in terms of information previously distributed, we do have two items in front of us. One focused, both of them do not have presentations. One focused on an update on Bill 108, More Homes, More Choices Act 2019, changes to the Ontario Heritage Act, which was circulated, as well as an item on heritage planning pre-application consultation program, which was also circulated. At this time, are there any notices of motion? Seeing none, are there any inquiries? I don't see any inquiries. Under other business, there are two planning circulations on the agenda, which were distributed to members prior to the meeting. Members of the public have the opportunity to comment through DevApps on ottawa.ca. Ontario Heritage Act applications will be considered at a later date. And these planning circulations revolve around 70 Richmond Road and 376 Island Park Drive, as well as an official plan and zoning bylaw amendment for 283 and 285 McLeod Street. Is there any other business? Seeing none, on adjournment, is the motion carried?
Carried.
Adjourned. Thank you, everybody. The next regular meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, November 9th, 2021.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.